All right, then, on with it. Welcome to the Sunder the Sky podcast. I am your host, Christopher Sky-Sunderer, here in my fortified underground bunker deep beneath the streets of Kent, Ohio. Bunker is surrounded by a cold-rolled stainless steel exoskeleton. And fortunately, since it's an underground bunker, it won't suffer from the easily shatterproof armor glass. So that's my brilliant segue into the Tesla Cybertruck reveal. Got a lot to say about this. I'm a big fan of Tesla. I know not everybody is, and I mean the company. Although I'm also I'm an even bigger fan of Nikola Tesla. But Elon Musk is simultaneously hero and asshole, and he has taken a lot of government corporate handout money to sustain his company when he didn't need to. So, so whether or not you and I'm committing a radio and podcast faux pas here. I've actually got 2 cough drops in my mouth. You're never supposed to have anything in your mouth while you're recording voice work, but I have a really raspy sore throat today. I'm still fighting this cold. So if my voice cracks here and there, I'm not going through puberty again. I'm just dealing with a throat issue. Anyway, whether or not you've ordered a Tesla vehicle, you paid for their development. Okay, because of Elon Musk's greedy little piglet attitude about government handout money. So, but at the same time, I do idolize the guy. He does have a lot of business sense. He invented PayPal and then sold it and went on to do this Tesla thing, you know, the first private aircraft to ever go into space and all that. And I have no doubt with their new Mars project, I have no doubt that they're going to get, you know, SpaceX is going to get to Mars before any government does it. And that's just on pure competence, okay? Competence versus blundering incompetence. If you ask NASA to tie their shoe, duck and cover because something horrible is going to happen. Anyway, so I'm sure everybody's seen it. I think he knew the glass would break when they threw the ball bearing at the truck. And I'll explain why. Okay? First of all, it's not because he didn't seem flustered or flummoxed by it. Elon Musk is not going to be flustered or flummoxed by something like that. Okay, so that's not why I have this theory. But data point 1 here is they already showed us the stuff doesn't shatter when hit with a ball bearing. They had these frames that they wheeled out that each had a plate of standard automotive glass on one, and then the second frame had a plate of Tesla brand armor glass, which is this new development. They're saying it's transparent metal. I'm not sure what specifically they mean by that. If it just has metal aspect or component to it, I doubt that they've actually figured out a way to make some kind of metal transparent. But anyway, they dropped a ball bearing about the size of a tangerine from 3 feet up onto the standard automotive glass, and it shattered. Okay? Then they wheeled over the Tesla armor glass plate, and they dropped the ball bearing from various heights, all the way up to, I think, that looked like 15 or 16 feet up, and it didn't even blemish the glass. So when the guy took the ball bearing and threw it at the truck window, and it shattered, and then he threw it at the rear door window, and it shattered. That, honest to God, just doesn't make any sense. And I've heard theories like, well, the armor glass that was on the frame that they were dropping the ball bearings onto was just sitting on a frame, whereas the windows in the truck are secured. It's like they're being held from all edges, so maybe it was just braced better for a break. That is not true. If you watch the demo, you can see the plate of armor glass on the frame that they dropped the ball bearing onto is also clamped down on all sides. I don't know how many clamps were there, but like at least a dozen. So it was also secured. Okay, that's data point 1. Here's another thing, okay? I think it's part of the marketing of the Cybertruck that they broke the windows. One of the really brilliant things about Elon Musk's marketing, you know, just his capabilities as a marketer, is that he does a great job with Tesla of making us, the consumers, feel as though we're along for the ride in terms of research and development. You understand what I mean? Like, we're part of the process of invention and troubleshooting and refinement and innovation. Okay? Because every time they have a breakthrough and every time they have a setback, he talks about it on Twitter. They talk to people in tech magazines to get articles written about it, even when it's a setback. Okay? So yeah, 2 years before this truck, which will be a game changer in the industry, mark my word, no matter what you think of it now. Anyway, 2 years before it actually becomes available, the first two models, the single motor, the dual motor, are going to roll out in late 2021. And then the tri-motor, the really souped up one, comes out in late 2022. 2 years before this truck actually becomes available, we get to see physically something happen that represents to us that this product is still in development. Okay? That is much more powerful and will stay with us more than just saying it still has some design flaws that we're working out. We see one, and they make it look like an accident, right? Even though that particular design flaw isn't actually a design flaw. Don't tell me they didn't just put regular old automotive glass in those window frames to stage this, okay? This also gives Tesla something to do to really blow us all away at the reveal event that will happen closer to the truck's release. And maybe it won't be a live event, maybe it'll just be a video they release. I think they'll probably do it in front of people, in front of a live audience. But in other words, when the truck is actually available, they're going to have something they can do to prove that they've fixed the, quote, durability problem of the armor glass. And this is going to be something they do in grand fashion. I don't know what that will be, but as soon as it happens in 2 years, you can bet your ass I'm going to take a clip from this episode today of me predicting it and play it on the Sunder the Sky episode that week. Anyway, you know, whatever they do, you can bet it's going to be something that elicits deafening applause from the audience. The video will go viral. If I were Elon Musk, I would cut a video of the truck, and if there's any way you could safely do this in front of a live audience, but have the truck, body, fender, tires, windows and all, being sprayed with automatic fire from like 5 gunmen wielding AK-47s. Okay? Have them all stand in front of it, fanned out, so some are shooting the front, some are shooting the sides, and have all the bullets just shattering off of the exoskeleton, the tires, and the windshield, you know, in bursts of sparks, and have nothing but little scuffs, you know, just like in Knight Rider, you know, something like that. So yeah, I think that was a staged fail. So we would, and he's probably tired of saying the words, this project is still in development, blah, blah, blah. I think he just said, you know what, I'm not going to say it this time, we're going to show it. What's something we could show on stage? Like, I don't know. Let's have the windows break. We can't do that, boss. The windows don't break. Oh, well, we'll put regular automotive glass in the door windows and have somebody just throw something at them and break them. So we can say, oh, there's some stuff to work out, which is what he said. I don't think he took enough time to explain to people how impressive it was. How that exoskeleton just shrugged off those 9mm bullets. Here's why. Those weren't just bullets. And I know a lot of you out there are gun nuts. Okay, a lot of my listeners are way into guns. But these weren't just bullets. If you look at the details of the ammunition that they put up on the screen behind him, they were military-grade, full metal jacketed rounds. In other words, not just lead bullets, but lead bullets dipped in steel. Those are bullets that don't deform or mushroom on impact, but rather punch into whatever they hit, much more directly, more sharply, more deeply. Metal jacketed rounds are how you hit people through walls or concrete or cinder block barricades. Okay? I wish they'd shot the F-150 for comparison. The fact that the Cybertruck's exoskeleton merely got a light dimpling from steel jacketed rounds is damn impressive. hit dead on perpendicular to the surface, each of those rounds would have punched through the F-150's door, flown through the cab, and then punched through the other door as well, and winged whomever was hiding on the other side of the truck. Now, the thing that everybody's talking about, though, is none of these technical innovations, which are all amazing. When they had the tug of war and the Cybertruck dragged the F-150 at like 30 miles an hour uphill, people... and that's the Cybertruck having the higher center of gravity, too. Anyway, all anybody can talk about is what the damn thing looks like. Okay? What do I think of the design? You know, I first will say this. Ever since Ford started straight up copying the Chevy truck's front end, you know, the way the headlights are on a Chevy truck, for years on each side, it's one light over the other. So you got two headlights on each side. Ever since Ford started doing that, all pickups on the road look the same to me. I'm honestly of two minds on the Cybertruck's look. For starters, I absolutely love that LED headlight strip on it and the roof-mounted light strip too. It's awesome. Reminds me of something from Far Cry Blood Dragon. I love that it's stainless steel. I mean, this means they'll all be the same color. It's just like the DeLorean, right? So they'll all be that steel color, you know, until Tesla inevitably invents some kind of high-tech paint that adheres to stainless steel and also allows color changing from an iPhone app and, you know, like an extra layer of bulletproof and who knows what else. But for right now, you know, for the added functionality and protection, in the Cybertruck, there's no such thing as a fender bender if nothing short of a Tomahawk missile can actually bend your fender. Okay? And for all that functionality and sturdiness and protection and all that, I think the color's fine. God, give me a stainless steel F-150. No other company is doing that. So as much as you might, for people who don't like just that bare steel color, things never going to rust. As someone who lives in Ohio, a northern state, what that means, everybody in Ohio knows this, everybody in the northern states knows this. We spend 6 to 8 months a year blasting the undersides of our cars with salt water. Because when they salt the roads and the snow melts, that's, I mean, you're salt water blasting the underside of your car. You're just bathing the underside of the car in salt water, and the rust starts and it works up into the frame, into the body. Okay, it does a lot of damage. I had a 1996 Ford Taurus at one point. Come from a Ford family. Okay, I love the company. You know, they were the only holdouts that didn't take government handout money after the big stock market crash in 2007 and 2008, the big economic crisis. Ford was the only company that didn't have to take handout money because, unlike General Motors, unlike Mopar, Ford isn't run by a bunch of financially illiterate morons. So I respect the company on those grounds, and I always have. Okay, I actually respect them, you know, on an economic level more than Tesla. All right, but I had this 96 Ford Taurus, and when I went to... I didn't trade it in. I had it junked because it really wasn't worth anything on a trade-in. I had driven the hell out of it. It had 250,000 miles on it. I want to say that was 2004. Or no, when did I give it up? It was like 2011 or something. And the very last time ever that I got out of the car, you know, I put a foot down outside the car, I grip the door and the door jamb, so to speak, and I stand up out of the car. The foot that was still in the car, on the very last time I got out of the car, punched through the floor. You know, there was carpet protecting my shoe, but actually went through the floor, and like the heel of my foot went down like 2-3 inches. And that's when I realized how rusted out the underside of the car was. Yeah, 250,000 miles in Ohio, and I'm sure there was rust all up in the body and the doors and everything. The fact that you're buying a vehicle that will never rust, that means a lot to people from northern states, okay? Should mean a lot to people no matter where you're from. On the one hand, talking about the design, the body looks redonkulous. Okay? It looks like a lopsided pyramid from the side, and it looks like a block from the front and the back, profile-wise, right? On the other hand, it's really nice to see someone actually doing something new and unique. How many times have you seen a concept car and thought, holy shit, that's badass? And then you're immediately crestfallen when you realize that's not what the production model will look like. It's going to look like a very watered-down version of that design. Tesla doesn't do that to us. Tesla's concept cars are the production models. I honestly think the design on uniqueness and the fact that it looks more like an armored vehicle rigged for the zombie apocalypse than one of the dozens of indistinguishable pickups on the market could, over time, really grow on me. Time will tell. Roll out one in matte black or carbon fiber with cobalt blue light strips framing all the hard edges and corners, a la technology from Far Cry Blood Dragon, and you just sold Christopher Sky-Sunderer a Cybertruck. Okay? All I'm going to say.
Welcome to the future. The year is 2007. Nuclear war has nearly destroyed our planet. Now, an evil presence seeks to enslave what's left of humanity. And there's only one thing that can stop it.
Nobody threatens my planet.
Michael Biehn is Sergeant Rex Power Colt.
All right, and before we get rolling today, I just want to give some thanks. I want to give a shout out to Andrea. A while back, she helped me with some advice on different things I might try. She has recommended some things for me to take that definitely helped. She's also helping me with some sources of B vitamins and things like that to help me try to take a more preventative approach toward my depressive episodes. Okay? That's something I haven't had a chance to buy yet. We literally just talked about this stuff last night. But I just wanted to say thanks, Andrea, for being there and sharing with me and, for the advice. And that's stuff I'm definitely going to try to. Also wanted to give a shout out to Tony. Tony is apparently, she's one of my best friends on Facebook. And apparently she's really not feeling well. She's been sick for the last several days. And just wanted to... offer my condolences to you, sweetheart. I know that's rough. She said she's been coughing up a lung, basically, and yeah, I'll be thinking about you and praying for you. Okay, I want to talk about something really quickly. First of all, everybody's going to wonder if I don't mention this. Whiskey Warrior, whatever the numbers are, 556, I think. So there was a guy who was reported by an acquaintance or a neighbor or something because he had 30-round magazines. For his rifle, and I don't know what kind of rifle it was. I don't know anything about it. Anyway, the cops showed up with an armored personnel carrier to confiscate his 30-round magazines, pieces of plastic, and he refused. And he holed himself up in the attic of his house, and he shot some video that he put on Instagram. I think maybe it was nerves, anxiety, the tension of the moment, but the video, as I've seen it, is almost incomprehensible what the hell he's talking about and everything. He shows some clarity here and there, but it's clear he wasn't prepared for this, and he, was saying what he said. He wanted some video record, I'm sure, in case the cops ended up killing him. On Twitter, there's a user who's at Whiskey Rebel, who's not the guy, okay? The Twitter account is Whiskey and Rebellion, is what it's called. At Whiskey Rebel is what, and Whiskey and Rebel, I think, something like that. I'll have a link in the description box. This guy was following the events, so if you want a semi-good play-by-play of what all happened, right up to the peaceful resolution wherein he was guaranteed by the negotiator that he wouldn't be charged with anything and he wouldn't do any jail time, and then they turned around and charged him with a bunch of shit and locked him up. Yeah. I would go to that Twitter account and just look at it. You'll see everything that I've seen. And the reason I'm not going to talk about this much today, even though I fully support what the guy did, and I think it's critical that everybody get updated on it. And, once we... The reason I'm not going to talk about it at length is I really don't have enough details to form or give an opinion on it. Okay? I said early on, episode 1 or 2, that I'm not going to report on something unless I know everything about it. I am not... Sunder the Sky is not a news show. Okay? Now, if you're used to watching MSNBC, CNN, any of those stations, or if you're used to reading the Huffington Post or whatever, you're familiar with this phenomenon that those news outlets don't know the difference between news and opinion. They really don't. You go to Fox, and my hatred of Fox has grown by about 100 times over the last year. But at the very least, Fox separates news programs from opinion programs. Okay? They have anchors and they have pundits, and they are two different things. And I think they're the last major news outlet like that. Okay? This show, Sunder the Sky, is not a news show. It's an opinion show. I'm not a reporter. I'm a pundit. Okay? So I am afforded the luxury of time. I don't have to report on something right away. And this is where those news networks get themselves in trouble, because since they think their opinions constitute news, when they report, quote unquote, on things right away and give a bunch of opinions before they've had all the information come in, they inevitably end up looking like idiots in just a couple days when the truth about the situation comes out. If they would just stick to news, they wouldn't get themselves into that mess. Anyway, they're only preaching to their own choir, which is the side of the country that doesn't care about facts. But, yeah, I'm not going to report much on what happened with this guy and this situation today, because I'm waiting for more information to come in before I form an opinion. But I do think it's a story we should all be paying attention to, because this is the nightmare come true. This is police surrounding a home to confiscate weapons because of red flag laws. And this guy, as I understand it, was an Afghanistan veteran. And while he was standing there with the police surrounding his house, he had no weapons on him. All he had was 30-round magazines on his vest. No guns. Okay. And they even had an armored personnel carrier in an armored vehicle. For God's sake. I will cover that once I know enough about it to have an opinion. Beyond just the obvious, red flag laws are bullshit. The police are drastically overstaying their welcome as a legitimate institution. Okay? Why do the police have an APC? Why do the police need Apache attack helicopters with full auto Sidewinder missile batteries? Those are missile batteries that fire Sidewinder missiles at anywhere from 10 rounds per minute to 2 rounds per second. 4 rounds per second. Why do they need that? For the police? And what's happened is the police have become more militarized, is they have become the standing army that is expressly forbidden in the Constitution. Not just expressly, but strenuously. Okay, that's... Oh, Chris. I'm going to save all this for another time, okay? What I want to talk about next is a show called Scientology and the Aftermath. And this is not really the topic, but it's my lead-in to it, okay? Because I've watched all seasons of Scientology and the Aftermath. Leah Remini was a famous Scientologist her whole life, and then she rather publicly walked away from the church and started talking about how abusive and criminal the organization is. So she has this show where she interviews other people who escaped. And I do not use that term frivolously. A lot of these people had to escape the Church of Scientology like escaping from a prison. Okay. It's a good show. It's eye-opening. I think everyone listening to this podcast is likely someone who has been up on how full of shit the Church of Scientology is and how criminal it is for years. But it's still eye-opening just how much is going on there and how far they're going. But the reason I bring it up, what I have taken from having watched the series, is that there are two types of people who join cults. Okay? One are just what we'll call joiners. People who are just looking for somewhere to belong or something to belong to. True, dyed-in-the-wool followers. And then the second type of people who join cults are what we call proactive fighters. These are people who become convinced of the cult's message and mission, and these are people who aren't looking for something to join. They're looking for a cause to fight for. Now, the first type of person is no particular threat to anyone, and hence also no particular asset to a cult. They round out the numbers. That's all they do. However, that second type, the proactive fighter type, are any cult's real human assets. Keep the proactive fighters believing, and they are living weapons for your cause. However, if you fail to keep them indoctrinated, if they see your abuses for what they are, if they see that you're full of shit, then you've just turned one of your pit bulls against yourself. Guests and interviewees on the show are all people who fall into one of these two categories. They're either joiners who escaped or fighters who saw the light. Now, they all get the respect of fighting back for appearing on the show. That takes a lot of courage, especially with what Scientologists do to you if you talk publicly about their crimes. Here's my point with all of this, and pay attention, because this has the potential to be the most important thing I've ever said on this show. Most leftists, statists, authoritarians, in my honest opinion, are joiners, followers. You can absolutely capture and control their minds by giving them something to chant, some kind of slogan to repeat. That's why no libertarian slogan ever catches on, because libertarians are too thoughtful in general. You know, I'm old enough to remember Tanstaffel, okay, which is one of the most awkward, it stands for there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. That's not really that old. People stopped using it almost immediately because we're not the kind of people who just chant slogans. Leftists are, and most leftists, I mean, you complete MK Ultra mind control them just by giving them a slogan, just by giving them something to chant. Why do you think so many of them love Rage Against the Machine? You know, I've posted about this repeatedly. Zach De La Rocha is the most overrated songwriter in the history of music. I will completely admit, the other musicians in that band, they're great. They're great at playing music, okay? Zach De La Rocha, in addition to having such an annoying voice, it makes you want to kill something, preferably him. His lyrics are bullshit. All that the lyrics of a Rage Against the Machine song are protest chants. That's it. Some of those who burn crosses are the same that join forces. That's the song. He says that like 26 times in a row. Okay, anyway. But that's why the left love them, even though they're communists. I don't know why they're called Rage Against the Machine. They should be called Build Ever Bigger Machines and feed people into it to serve as meaty fuel. Okay, anyway. So most leftists, in my honest opinion, are just joiners. They're just people looking for something to follow. All right, and these joiners are driven entirely by emotional reactions, feeling the dopamine hit from, you know, outrage or whatever. However, some leftists really are fighters. They do exist. And the reason I point this out is those people, the fighters, are tough to convince. Because convincing a fighter of anything, even debating a fighter of anything, is going to be a fight. They're not going to give up their position easily. They're going to stand their ground and defend their ground. But even though they're tough to convince, they are also the ones who can be convinced. The followers cannot. The followers aren't going to think something new until the people they're following confirm its truth for them. They don't make choices of who they're following based on facts, logic, or evidence. Only on an emotional response. And if they've already convinced themselves the people I'm following are the good guys. It's something really major has to happen to upset that particular mental apple cart for them, okay? Joiners are going to follow whomever they like, but aren't really of much value in a revolutionary sense. The fighters are whatever revolution they join, okay? I see a lot of memes and even articles and interviews wherein someone is arguing that no one at this point is going to be convinced anymore. No one is going to be red-pilled anymore. We have crossed the Rubicon on how much good debate and dissent and argument are going to do. That we're in the end game and everybody has chosen their side, and that's that. Okay, I don't believe that. I know why it feels that way. I do, however, believe that with the sheer amount of nonsense being perpetrated by the media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, and even the more quote-unquote moderate red leftist Republicans, the number of Democratic voters who are fighters capable of seeing and leaving the deception has likely grown thin, but they are still there. Hashtag walk away has been devastating for the Libertarian Party. It wrecked the Libertarian Party because all those disaffected Democrats that were hashtag walk-awaying from the Democratic Party, they weren't becoming Republicans. They were looking for another party, but they didn't want it to be the Republican Party, so they joined the LP, and that's a big part of the reason why the LP is now a joke. It's done nothing over the last 5 years but drift ever leftward. I mean, you've got quote-unquote libertarian socialists running many state chapters of the LP. How do you even reconcile those two philosophies together? Libertarianism and socialism. I understand how you might, but it doesn't work. Anyway, this is just kind of a plea out there. Please don't stop debating. And I know it's frustrating when you're debating someone and you're actually putting forth arguments. This happens to me all the time. And the other side, the leftist, is just, my friend Andrea, there was a guy on one of her Facebook posts who was I honestly think he was a paid shill, okay? Because those exist on social media. But this guy, I don't even remember what the post was about. He was obviously representing the crazy far left perspective, okay? And anybody who argued against him, he didn't put forward any arguments. All he did, okay, and I even said something to him at one point, and all he did when he said, we need to preserve our democracy and everything like that, and people were trying to point out to him the United States is not a democracy. It's a representative constitutional republic. And all he would say is, man, that's a real right-wing thing to say. Okay, not an argument, jackass. Try again. Oh, have another donut, fatty. Not an argument. Try again. Okay, it's just, and the guy never once put forward an argument. And anytime someone would call him out, why are you calling people names? He would just say, well, I'm not so thin-skinned that I can't enjoy a spirited debate. It's not a debate. Everyone else is giving you logical arguments backed by facts and evidence, and all you're doing is insulting them and then misrepresenting their position, which is straw man. And this is the thing that drives me so nuts about the left, and I know I'm not alone in that. Their arguments in debate are not just fallacious, but they've limited themselves to two fallacies and two fallacies alone. Ad hominem, which even devolves into its basest form, which is simply name-calling, and then straw man arguments. That's it. That's like their left jab and their right hook. That's it. That's all they do. Ad hom, straw man. Ad hom, straw man. Ooh, watch this one. Ad hom, ad hom, ad hom, then straw man. Ooh, deal with that. It's like, it's not debate. So I'm digressing here, but I know it's frustrating. The thing you've got to realize is when you're debating someone on social media, which contrary to popular belief is absolutely not a waste of time, it feels like a waste of time because you're never going to convince the person you're arguing with, especially if it's a leftist. Here's the thing. I'm not trying to convince him. I'm making an example of him for anyone else who might be reading along. I'm putting out substantive arguments, and I'm fully acknowledging I could be wrong somewhere here. If I am, show me how and where I'm wrong. And their scintillating retort is "fuck you, fatty," or "okay, boomer," which I'm Gen X. I'm not a boomer, but whatever. We want other people. We want undecideds and fighter leftists to see that. People you may never even interact with directly. Always be of good cheer and use arguments, use facts, use reason, okay? And just let the other side hang themselves in front of everybody.
A group of vegans are suing Burger King over their meatless Impossible burgers. The lawsuit alleges that the vegan burgers are cooked on the same grill as the meat ones, which then they say contaminates the vegan ones with meat byproduct.
I knew something like this was going to happen. I never said it publicly, so you're just going to have to take my word. So first, let's address the ridiculousness of this, okay? It'd be really great if somehow these, what do you even call them? Fake meat justice warriors? What? I'm not going to come up with a name for these people. I'm just going to call them idiots, okay? It would be great if they could find out that one cow supplies something like 400 to 600 burgers, whereas vegetable farmers kill literally tens of thousands of animals per acre per growing season to protect the crops that are used in your goddamn tofu and your bean salads and all the other shit that you call food. Okay, and this is going to be the last story today because I am really losing my voice now. Nothing living is permitted anywhere near the crops that you're eating. Bugs, reptiles, rodents, birds, amphibians, anything and everything, anything that doesn't get dismembered into salsa by the tiller, the combines that go up and down the field, is going to be poisoned to death with chemicals, most of which from the dreaded Monsanto. Chemicals that are specifically designed and placed to eliminate all fauna for half a mile in any direction from the fields. Or how about this the next time you go to a Burger King? Think about all the animals and animal products that were used in the manufacture of plaster, bricks, wood glue, insulation, cement, shingles, just to build the restaurant where you're buying your fucking Impossible Whopper, right? Any diabetics work there? Any diabetics on the circle of dipshits who are suing? Yeah, your insulin is made using animal products, particularly dogs. Anybody on either side of the counter ever receive any kind of medical care? A direct quote from not the current Surgeon General, not the one previous, not what was the one that was stupid? I'll think of her name later. Anyway, Surgeon General from like 30 years ago. Direct quote: "Our entire field of biomedical research, as well as the entire field of public health, is sustained entirely by experimentation conducted on animals. Without animal research, without animal experimentation, we have no biomedical research and no public health. Period." But the real problem here is not these idiots. We are never going to run out of stupid people. We're never going to run out of outraged, stupid people. The problem here is you, Burger King. You opened yourself up to this the moment you kowtowed to these idiots and made the Impossible Burger to begin with. You never, ever apologize nor attempt to appease leftists. You cannot reason with an angry mob, and that's all the left is. Apology and appeasement only serve to demonstrate to the mob that you are willing to concede ground to them. And to the left, to any angry mob, that's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. It's like some really attractive white girl walking through South Central LA in a string bikini. Let's say Burger King listens to them, okay? and agrees to bring in separate grills to handle the veggie burgers. Well, then there'll be more leftists, likely even the same leftists who come out and start braying and bleating about how, well, the sizzling of the meat burgers spreads particulates of animal fat into the air, and so the grills need to also be kept in separate rooms so as to avoid airborne animal fat contamination. And then from there it'll be, BK concedes to that. Then the left is going to come at them again about the meat products they still serve and say, well, you need to have some kind of decontamination room, like a clean room, between the meat grill room and the veggie grill room. Then they're going to say, well, why are you still making regular burgers at all? It's an atrocity. And hence the purity spiral bores like an industrial drill into the willing target until said target is destroyed. They will not stop until Burger King has been destroyed. Then, after all the concessions and the attempts to give them what they want, as the company goes under and all these people lose their jobs, the left will shift gears to cheering about having brought down an evil company. Yeah, we took them down. The left is incapable of happiness until they've destroyed something. And even then, the joy is short-lived because within a nanosecond, anyone celebrating bringing down BK, Burger King, will be called lazy for taking a victory lap over a single battle when the war has yet to be won. Damn it, you never, never, never apologize to the left. You never try to work with the left or express willingness to compromise with the left. The left doesn't apologize. They don't work with anyone. They simply bark orders. And they do not compromise. Ever. Remember what Michael Biehn said about the Terminator in the first Terminator movie. It can't be reasoned with. It can't be bargained with. It doesn't feel remorse or pity. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead. He could very easily, or just as easily, have been talking about the left, about cultural Marxists, about SJWs, about that whole movement, the Justice Democrat movement. So, one final thing before we close today. National Men's Day was just a few days ago, about a week ago, and the ACLU, that's the American Civil Liberties Union, tweeted or something this virtue signal about, there isn't just one way to be a man. Men can also get periods. Men can also get pregnant. Blah, 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 blah. And we celebrate all men today and reject the bigotry of those who think that, whatever, cisgendered, straight men, blah, blah, blah. If this whole multiple gender equality, all that, if this isn't simply about destroying gender roles, can I just ask, why is it so important to call these gender-confused women men? Don't men suck? Aren't men bad? Aren't men evil? Aren't men responsible for everything that ails the world? These ultra-far-left people who have done nothing but attack men for decades now want to be men? I really don't buy it. Again, you've got fighters, you've got joiners. The fighters simply aren't seeing the logic. They're being swerved. And the followers, the joiners, it doesn't matter to them. You can't call them out. They say, oh, that's whataboutism. Hey, as a conservative and or libertarian, we love whataboutism because it's always on our side. But I don't buy it. I don't buy that this is about anything other than just destroying gender roles. I think there are a few evil people at the top of this movement, but the vast majority of them are simply useful idiots, serving the purposes of the elites. It is objectively provable that these agendas are not about establishing anything good, and that the people in charge of these movements don't really believe what they're saying. They're using the particulars of what they're saying to achieve some other goal. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. Now, I'm sure you can hear my voice going out on me, so we'll talk again soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Fans are free to move out. Michael, stay in place to act as animal care receptacle. Over. Folks able to hustle a little bit more? Let's do this. Over. Hi. Try to get him off here. Okay, go, go. Yes. Yes, yes. Pass keys. Not Brittany. Whoa, whoa! Hey, hey! I can't stop us! No! I can't stop us! Stop! Oh my fucking god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Holy shit! We need to stop this right now! We need to stop this right now! Holy shit! What the fuck? Oh my god! No, 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 no.